there are no floods at the moment.
In some parts actually of the country there are, but for those that are next to lake shores and rivers.
Yes. And we're going to be talking about that within this bulletin today, about the flooding.
Well, it's just 5 minutes past 7 a.m. and we're always live here every day from Monday to Friday. Just tune in your TV on DSTV channel 372, on GOTV on channel 320. Of course, we're always on YouTube. Just go type in Smart 24 TV with a lowercase or uppercase. We are always there. And if you're new, come up, please don't forget to subscribe. And on Facebook on Smart 24 TV official and X Smart 24 TV now. Well, today we're having an interesting topic. I guess most of you are aware, or maybe something's happened to you and you fall victim of whatever circumstances happen over time. And that is to do with fraud. Whether internally or externally. I mean, people these days in the mitima and they're trying to get back to their boss and doing atrocious things, but then fraud has been the talk of the day, and most especially for Uganda. What has been out there is the banks. The glitches in the system, very many things that have really occurred, but we do not know. What we're going to be looking at is looking at factors that it can happen both internally, externally, within the organization, within your business. Anything can happen if you not have your data secured. First of all, you share your password with them. Chip in for me, might go to my email, log in for me. It's quite risky. For both you as an individual, as an organization.
And that's true, Mercy. We're going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at digital fraud. We're going to be looking at the different aspects, really, of fraud. There's been quite a lot of insistence right now on the movement into the digital age, and this is not even just per se something that you can drop or leave. It's something that you must really adopt within your company and within any other sphere really of your life to be able to survive, to communicate. So, but of course we know that with every opportunity, with every space that comes in for opportunity and growth and potential, there's also something that goes backwards. There's something negative that comes in. So whereas it's been more or less a cat and mouse game, whereby all these different interventions that are pushing for the digital spaces to be active and all this efficiency and effectiveness to come on board. But then you also find the thieves actually getting smarter. So whereas one solution is put out, a gap happens, and whereas another solution or a bridging of a gap happens, then another problem comes up. But however, the insistence about it, what we're going to be having insight on today, and what we're going to be skimming over or talking about, is the different avenues in which fraud can happen. Are you aware that you can actually be an accomplice even without your knowledge? That is happening. You've got so many apps right now that are running for access to money, which is a great thing, but at the same time you open up everything, your personal life, you open up every part of your life, and that is also your finances. So when this happens, what are you putting in place, not only just as an individual, to make sure that you are guarded, you are safe? And then when it comes obviously to those that are company owners, basically what are you putting in place? You may be a little bit cagey and saying that you're not going to jump on board on the digital van, but truth is you must be able to have some sort of digitization within your company, because it's mostly, even these days, it's a basis, for grants, it's a basis for any investment and things like that. So you can't run away from it. But apart from that, what have you put in place? Are you aware that there's actually increased fraud that is happening? So those are things that we're going to be talking about, and it must be a very interesting topic. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting,
but you realize that much as fine, there are personnel that are there, IT experts and the like, but I think most companies or most businesses have not taken time to train, or maybe had consultants come in to train them about cybersecurity. That anytime your phone can be taken from you, and that's it, and you shouldn't share your passwords away from the Ponzi schemes that we're used to, investment, all this scam. Everyone has been prone to that one, I guess, the investment schemes.
The reality about it is that when it comes to companies or even the banking sector that has recently been hit very hard, the reality about it is that for any of their fraud risk management systems or efforts, it must be routine, it must be regular. And the reality about it is that sometimes it's costly. Yes, because for every time a new solution is put out there, to get in and revamp your system sometimes takes money. There's no person who's going to come in and do it for free.
Exactly.
Yes, to boost up your. You may have the person, you may have the routine stuff, you know, the workshops and all that to bolster them. But the reality also at the same time is you must be able to make sure that these management systems are functional and they're up to date. And sometimes that is quite costly. Now, when it comes down to like the individuals, the clients, who in one way or another tend to be a little bit, may not have all the information on their fingertips. Now that is where the challenge comes in, because when it's something like that as an individual, there are responsibilities. Yes, you can't be running around sharing your password. But also right now there are hackers coming in every minute. There's identity theft. There are Ponzi schemes. There are scams all over the place. So we're also going to be looking at how does the individual, the client, the you and me, how do we identify that this is that someone is targeting me really, and targeting me, not only targeting me, but I have made an accident, yes, and maybe my information, my personal information, that means my NSSF details, my bank details are all out there. So what next? And I believe that in the last part of this show we'll have a guest, and he will be able to not only share his experiences that he's had, but he's also, as part of the banking sector for quite a while, he was able to have a look and experience a couple of things in regards to fraud. So he'll be taking us through some of the things that he went through, some of the experiences, and what you and I should be able to know about our responsibility and in risk management.
Well, it's 12 minutes past 7 a.m. We're going to see what is happening to the press.
We talked about something yesterday.
Well, I have the new vision, and she's going to be taking us through the Daily Monitor. And of course, making headline here, the Speaker of Parliament has been making headlines over the last weeks and still now. And of course, regarding her assets. And of course, government orders probe in United Kingdom. Yeah. And of course, looking here at at how UBOS gets new boss, UNBS, yes, UNBS got a new boss, and of course still looking at census, several cult leaders arrested, yeah, and of course UWA suspends hiking Margarita Peak, yeah, that and more when you get yourself a copy of the new vision. And of course, Ireland reiterates commitment to supporting Uganda's education. Well, of course, it must be interesting if Ireland is interested in our country. Now, it has reiterated its commitment to supporting education in Uganda, especially in underserved region of Karamoja, in an embassy official in Kampala. That is, the embassy official said in Kampala. Well, of course, there used to be a saying that Karamoja is still behind. Well, you see people are coming in to support them in one way or the other in terms of education, educating them that the world has changed. Yeah, people no longer, no longer herdsmen. That's not what they do for. A lot of people earn money, So it is quite a good move. Yeah. What do we have there?
And within the Monitor.
It's
still the same story, actually. Breaking news, and Speaker is really in some trouble. She's all over the news, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. But in continuation, what we talked about yesterday, there's something here. Uganda signs deal that allows free movement in IGAD states, and those are states really that go up from Uganda, Kenya, up through to the corner, to the horn of Africa. And this is amazing. This is wonderful, especially when we add on the fact that we're talking about, we're talking about the East African community yesterday, which was really amazing, because not only are they just talking about the economic cooperation and social development, they're also talking about security, they're talking about agriculture, environment, and peace. And that's very important, of course, for development. Then we're also talking about the monitor brings to you farmers, traders make a case for revival of cooperative bank. They say the commercial banks have failed to help them develop. And yes, there's something coming up there. And
could it be in terms of loans? I mean, what's with these cooperative banks?
I think the cooperative banks really don't necessarily just focus on the loans. Or the access to money. There is something much more within the cooperatives. There is, the identity, there is linkages to market, there is that constant, regular capacity building, all that is within that. But there's also the key part, the negotiation, especially if it's produce oriented, if it is that. So, and the commercial banks really more or less standoffish in most cases. They look at the financial aspect, eligibility, and the sustainability of their financial products. But of course, we get to also see that there's been quite a lot of broadening. Yes, most of the financial products, especially those that come down to women, are really looking at other supportive products being part and parcel of the financial packages. But still, in other news, we've got the multi-billion ICU equipment lies idle at Masaka Hospital.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
People are dying and it's lying idle.
Yep. And this you can...
now I'm imagining, do they know how to operate it? What?
And this has been after 3 years. It remains idle.
Do they not have cases?
Let me just... The hospital management explains that they lack a facility to house the equipment. So, honestly, some of these things come in handy. I mean, like you have to know. You have to know. You get a big machine like this, and you don't have where to put it.
It's like bringing couches, yet you have a small house.
Yeah. But the reality about it is that what was the criteria for identification? Was there a need? And if the need was there,
donated, probably.
Yes. If the need was there, was it communicated prior? Does it mean that every time machinery is brought in and given to a medical facility, then something new has to be built? Because normally the hospitals are large enough, and room can be made for machinery that is important.
This is the referral?
Yes.
Wow, and how, I mean, it doesn't make sense. But by the time, actually, I think by the time someone opts to donate, you have to have made your research as well,
Yes, that is why I'm asking, what was the criteria? And was it just random? Because there are so many other referral hospitals. But at the same time, there's been quite a lot of... the Ministry of Health recently has had a hard hit. But all positive. We still have challenges within our health system, and there are really gaps that can be rectified. And the monies are still too high, especially when in regards to maternal health. And still inaccessibility, the systems break down to the grassroots. But the reality is that, with MPDSR and all these other monitoring systems that are there to track, there is continuous growth. You can't believe what amazing things are happening within the Ministry of Health right now in being able to track maternal death and all these and maternal health impacts and all that. There's so many great things. If only things like this would be taken care of immediately. But for this to happen, that great machinery that can do well, is sitting idle for 3 years. Mercy, not even 1 year, not 6 months, but 3 years. Everyone is aware. Honestly, I believe that there must be an investigation into Masaka. What is the management saying? What is the management saying? What is your plan B? Yes, because it's a service.
If it's lying idle, why don't you take it to a place where they have enough facility? You could make a trade.
3 years.
Make a trade for something else.
The onus is always on, and this is where it comes in really in governance. The onus is always on the people. Yes, the onus is not necessarily on the people down the grassroots, but also those ones that head these particular systems up there. Yes, if you have a machine and honestly you know that it costs billions and hundreds of millions, and you know it's you know how good it's supposed to be, how it's going to improve service delivery. Why can't you do something on your own? Unless there is a part that is missing, because that has also been talked about. Missing parts that are too expensive can't be found in the country. They have to go through the procurements, you know, chain and all that. That one is another thing. They can insist. They can call higher, you know, higher officials to help out. But when it comes to just we do not have a facility for the machine to operate, that's scandalous.
It's funny, since it's a referral baby hospital, I guess they leave it to government, you know, to come and I think they've aired out their grievances, of course. They've aired out their grievances, you know, beginning of year, they were complaining, the Ministry of Finance, was it Finance? Yes, was complaining on how the Ministry of Education has failed to, Health has failed to pay their arrears, the different referral hospitals, electricity bills. Yes. You know, so how much more do you think they can lobby for facilities that have failed to pay their arrears?
Yes, and honestly, that's true. And whereas we look at one part, there's also another part. Yes, there's another part. Talking about electricity, their bills to pay. Talking about running water, their bills to pay.
Payments of doctors.
Exactly. Talking about the, you know, the salaries, there's also that. But the reality about it is that there'll always be an issue to tackle. And this is why I'm all for, I think it's every day, I'm all for plan B, plan C. What strategy do you have in place? Yes? What particular strategy do you have in place to ensure that even when something goes wrong, you can rectify it as quickly as possible? I was very glad that you know, the census Top Guns came out yesterday, and he mentioned, I saw that. Yes, and acknowledged what has been apparent. It acknowledged what has been out there for all to see, and said, you know what, these are challenges that have that basically hit us. They hit us hard, but guess what? We have already found out. We've already rectified some. We're looking for solutions as well, and that's the first thing that should have really happened by the end of day one. You know, by the end of day one, let every particular person in their own niche know that they have an onus, yes, to basically do their part in rectifying any particular gaps. You can't say, no, I'm going to sit back because I haven't received the salary. I'm going to sit back because there's no water. I'm going to sit back because ABCD. There is a responsible person for that. So can they be called, held to book and called into action quickly? But last but not least, let me get through why US cannot win the trade war with China. This is the battle, the battle of the lions, right? An economic conflict between China and the United States has been ongoing since January 2018, when President Donald Trump began setting tariffs and other trade barriers on China with the goal of forcing it to make changes to what the US says are long-standing unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. You know, this dance won't end. This dance won't end, but then I think the US has really put itself in such a predicament whereby you find out that almost 70% of your products are being made, you know, away from your country. That means you're very dependent on the Chinese. They can decide and do whatever they want.
The world technology, first of all.
Yes, they can, but the mere fact that the majority of your products, someone, you know, was commenting and there was an uproar about it. The shoes I'm wearing made in China. Yes, only that they put a different label. Yes, they did put a different label sometimes. Shoes, the clothing, what I'm using to eat, everything made in China. And that is happening in the US. So when this comes up and they say why the US can't win the trade war with China, it's apparent. It was bound to happen.
I believe China has, when China penetrated in Africa, It had a different perspective away from the US. US was more of a supremacy. You know, I want to be on top of the game. I want to have you at the fingertips of my hand. But this China comes in as a business. How do we do business? Okay,
yes.
I give you infrastructure. You do something else for me. Okay,
yeah.
They're doing it in a form of business, and like the US, and of course now we're seeing Russia coming in. So. And China and Russia are part of the BRICS.
Yeah.
So we did not know. Very soon India will also penetrate. We did not know how it's going to be like. So it's a scramble going to be between the two, the economic powers, the great economic world countries that we know globally.
Still go back to partition.
Yes,
the partition.
Scramble and partition of Africa.
Still go back. But the reality about it, Mercy, and this is the reality about it, you know, prior to this, prior to China coming in, of course, there were very unfair, you know, there was a very unleveled ground there. And of course, the challenge and what everyone didn't like was putting their noses and attaching different conditions to whatever aid they gave or whatever grants they came. So here comes in China, and China comes in and says, we are here for development.
Yeah.
Yes, I am not interested if people are this and that, ABCD, that's none of my business, fix yourself. As for me, what I'm here to do is build the road. Can we build the road with you? Can we do ABCD? And I think that was refreshing. But the great thing about it is, and why this has really happened for these partnerships with China to happen so quickly and be embraced, is the fact that it's very clear from the get-go. There is not a lot of nosiness, yes, and strings attached and all that, but also because there is not so much influencing. The African countries can still be able to you know, set their conditions as well, and that bargaining power seems to be there. But of course, like the debt is increasing. The debt is increasing, and China, I think there was a list recently that came out about countries, African countries that are indebted, yes, to China, and there are many. There are quite many, and the bill is getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. So maybe that is something that really, when we come down to bottom line, what we've been thinking about and talking about integration, the East African community, IGAD right now, we've been talking about it. Can we rally all the different countries and come up together as Africa, because we have the potential and not necessarily moving from one investor, one funder to another. Can we rally our resources and come up and do good and justice to ourselves as Africans?
Yeah, interesting. And of course, I'm looking here at some animation here, and I'm seeing, looking at at 8.7 million households covered, and it's just day 5. 2.6 counted and 5 days left. I mean, 10 days, 350 million having been, you know, allocated for that. And of course, UBOS has partly blamed faulty tablets for the delays of the pledging on the ongoing census.
Yes.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I mean, find a solution. Couldn't they use their phones? I mean, couldn't the data be in case? Because there is also that case. Battery goes off, maybe it dies. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, like from reports were coming in from Sunday. Honestly, from Sunday, reports were coming in about the internet challenges, and this is not only affecting Uganda. It's the entire East African region. And you've had places like, you know, entities and different places closed down and shut down for a while because of that. So whereas there's been outrage from day one, there's been snides and laughter and all this comic, all the comedy coming out. The reality about it, like we mentioned, I think on Monday, was the fact that behind every comedy, every skit, every cartoon, there's a reality, there's a point of reality and honesty behind it. And these are the points of reflection within satire.
8.7 so far million
yes
households.
And we don't know what where their plan D is, because clearly we are plan C.
We're just left with a few days to finish. It's supposed to end on the 19th?
I don't think this is cast in stone, given what is happening. The days they had, there was a first extension, yes. Why would you say this is cast in stone? There could be a second extension as well.
Probably.
Because at the end of the day, have you been counted?
No.
I haven't.
Because I have a friend who traveled to the village and he wasn't counted and he had to come back.
Yes. But we are here. We have not traveled anywhere. We haven't gone to the village. We have not been counted as yet. And so are many others. But let's wait and see. Is there going to be a second extension? Well, we'll keep it locked. Let's keep it locked to Smart 24 TV, and we'll find out if that is going to happen.
Well, let's go in for a short break, and we shall be back with what is happening in East Africa and across the borders of Africa. Keep locked to Smart 24 TV.